Hello and welcome to CMXtra, the Capital Markets Exchange podcast. I'm David, and in today's show, we're looking at data. No, not that data. We haven't gone all Star Trek Next Generation on you. There are plenty of podcasts that do that. No, we're talking about data as the fuel, the oil, the electricity, pick your cliche, of modern trading, the opportunities, the challenges, and the realities of data. But before we go there, on a reminder that here on CMXtra, we've been covering topics as diverse as AI on the trading desk and surviving market blackouts, as well as hearing stories from the industry's rising stars and next generation of trading leaders. If that's your bag, then do look up our back catalogue and hit subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And yes, of course, while podcasts are a great way of keeping up with what's happening in the industry, nothing beats a bit of in real life networking. So later on in today's show, we'll be sharing details of some in-person events coming up in the CMX universe in 2025. But back to today's topic. And well, look, anyone in the industry will recognize the fundamental importance of data for informed decision-making, automation, alpha generation. And well, at one level, that's nothing new. Going back to the 90s and noughties, 30 years ago, I worked at Reuters, then Thomson Reuters. I was part of the back end that supported Icon when it launched. And trust me, when there was an outage or data quality issue, we knew about it. But the landscape has evolved. It continues to evolve. And with developments in data and analytics tooling, automation, algorithmic trading, and of course, AI, the first of many mentions of AI today, I'm sure, data is even more central to modern trading than ever before. But many of the challenges that come with delivering real value from data, well, those challenges still remain. Speaking of real value, joining me today to chat through the challenges and opportunities here are two data experts. We have Trading Analytics Manager at Aviva Investors, Ash Sharma, and Head of Training at Oddo BHF Asset Management, Sven Rudolf. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining me.
Thank you, David.
We'll go into a little bit more detail in just a moment, but just give me the top line. Biggest opportunity and most persistent challenge that you see in your work around data analytics?
Thanks, David. So we're doing a lot of work at the moment on fixed income analytics at Aviva. So focus on credit and rates. Those are kind of the asset classes that have been avoided historically due to the opaqueness of pricing and the type of analytics that were available. So challenges at the moment are centered around how we use this new type of analytics that the vendors are providing at the moment in the market, and how we can really add value, especially on the kind of the alpha generation side of things.
Okay, very good. Same question to you, Sven. Biggest opportunity, most persistent challenge that you see in your work around data?
Yeah, so it's roughly going the same direction as Ash told us. The point is collecting all these data getting more and more expensive also on the other side makes it difficult for us to see what from data we need, which data we don't need. So there's also a lot of noise out there from data. So do I need all the data coming in? Do they help me to leverage my alpha, or I'm buying 80% of things I don't need? So it's really tough to find out what's relevant for creating alpha, and also for help us get the right data points for pre-trade analysis, also for post-trade analysis, because some of the data points not really helping us to get a proper result at the end, and you're looking at the result and saying, hey, okay, doesn't help me at all. This is taking most of the time and advantages and the challenges we have right here right now.
Yeah, thank you both. Setting up a lot of the topics that I want to go into a little bit further there. And let's talk about this fuel. And I mentioned in the intro some of the cliches. Data is the new oil. Data is the new electricity. There's one that I came across. Data is the new soil, that I think is quite an interesting one. It nurtures growth. It must be cultivated. It must be cleaned. It's regenerative as well. It needs to be healthy in order to enable things to grow out of it. Ash, many firms are striving for this single source of truth, though, for their trading data. What have been your experiences in building that consolidated, cross-asset, single source of truth, a data lake, if you like?
Yeah, sure. So at Aviva, at the moment we're very much in the infancy of finding a data lake provider. There's a number of vendors out there at the moment. But obviously, there's a few components there that need to be ingested into the system. So, you obviously have to have granular order trading data, along with the different market data points that are available, as well as benchmark and TCA data. So, you need to have a provider there that can store all of that information in one single repository, and then off the back of that, being able to access that data as well, and not just someone sitting in my seat, or a quant, the traders and the PMs as well, being able to access that data from all different sides of the business, I think is extremely important. And I'm sure we'll come on to it a bit later on, but a lot of the skill sets need to I think be advanced as well. Coding, Python knowledge, I think are areas that need to be continuously developed to be able to make the full use of that data.
Yeah, I definitely want to come on to that accessibility piece and the skills required, because I think that game has changed in the last 2 or 3 years, particularly with the advent of some of the, generative AI querying capabilities. But we'll put a pin in that for a moment. Sven, what's your take on or your experiences of building, accessing good quality data en masse?
Yeah, the problem is currently to find a proper tool where you have everything flowing in and giving you the proper result. So we have, let's say, not only one data lake currently, we have data lake A, B, C. So how do we get them together in one proper data lake? That's the question how we are working on. So sometimes you get a proper result if you're putting A and B together, but you cannot feed C given interfaces missing or some data not coming through the interface as expecting. This is currently where we're working on to find a solution to get all the relevant data, which we really need in these new data lake, where we can do then some analysis and take a look, hey, how things are performing, trades, how are other parts performing, like broker and other things, or what do we can take out of this data lake as a kind of pre-trade if we try to work something or have an order in these ISIN again, so that we get all these things together. So currently we are slightly stuck on some points, but we are, in comparison to 2024, we have still a way to go, but some steps are done, and it gets light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, that siloization, if you like, of different data lakes is a big challenge, not only in trading, but in other areas as well, where organizations are trying to get some value from their data. Let's take a look at value, though, and Ash, I'll come back to you. Beyond basic record keeping, best execution reporting, all that sort of stuff, how are you using this data to gain an advantage and drive alpha on your desk? Are there any examples of how this data has enabled insights, has led to better trading outcomes that you're able to share?
Yeah, sure. So I think we can split that question into 3 separate areas, from my side at least. So upstream, the trading desk, and downstream as well. So in terms of upstream, we use the data to talk to the PMs, about their order timing profiles. We work with the trading desk to improve that fund performance. So it's a real question of alpha preservation, quantifying those execution costs, optimizing those trading schedules as well, and then the execution quality and broker performance. So you have that evidence-based feedback, which I think is extremely important. You need to be able to back up what you're saying internally with the data, with the evidence, and having that continuous improvement, that feedback loop. So, okay, this piece of data shows X, how can we feed that back into the whole order trading life cycle? So from the PMs to the trading desk, and then down to the brokers and venues as well. So that's kind of the upstream area. And then obviously with the trading desk, we look at broker performance pretty heavily, linked to the downstream element, where we'll look at individual fills, we'll look at where those have been executed. We'll work with the brokers very closely to improve performance, improve the algo performances as well via our different execution channels, whether it's the algo wheel or non-algo wheel flows. So we've seen some positive outcomes, especially on the broker and PM sides, where the PM have adjusted certain strategies in some markets, and for example, they can be slightly more passive or slightly more aggressive in certain sectors, and that's seen. We've seen that performance improvement pretty evidently. And on the broker side, those algo adjustments have really helped improve performance. And at the end of the day, it's our performance that we want to help. So working collaboratively with the brokers and with the PMs is something that we really value here. And I think that's kind of extremely important in all areas of the industry, I think.
And Sven, same to you. What are the different ways in which you've been able to realize some value from the data that you have access to?
We are streamlined the data we're using for our automation workflow. So starting with a simple, only a few data to do your automation, and now we are leveraging a little bit more to taking into account more data for the automation, which then gives us the result perhaps to reduce the number of brokers we're sending the RFQ to, and to get more information. Or if the market is, for example, we get more information that the market is wider, to widen the target spread or something like this. So this is currently we are trying to evolve and testing. So we are seeing some good results. We are seeing also some outliers, which helps us to understand how we need to take the data in a better or proper way, or to adjust it to avoid these outliers. So this is very helpful for us. This is from the pre-trade analysis to get something going for the automation. And we also took a step forward with the TCA analysis, taking more data points into a TCA analysis, seeing the trades done from a different point of view, not only seeing from a rival price, seeing much more from opening, closing, a little bit seeing it to benchmark. So you have different views on the trade, and you can really see, okay, it might not perhaps be the best trade from at the arrival price given from the data point there, but it was the right time to do the trade, because if you compare to the closing price data or other data, you see, hey, you generated alpha not to the arrival, but to the closing price. So it was the right moment to do the trade. And all these more data points are helping us to give us a better result, but there's still some data points missing, which would make it much more easier than seeing it from 4 sides. It would be easier to see it from a proper view and get a proper result, but we are not there yet.
Not there yet, but availability of that data to fill in those gaps would certainly get you closer. And sticking with you, Sven, the market moves very quickly, as we know. How are you using data for real-time analysis to try and, I guess, get ahead of the curve, or to adjust to changing market dynamics? Are there specific data points that are most useful for you in terms of real-time usage? Are there particular technologies that are helping you to make the most of that real-time data?
Real-time data is very tricky in fixed income space, in my point of view. So given it's trading OTC, you have now really, like on an exchange where you have a data point which is coming there. There are some vendors which try to bring now some intraday data points, or trying to show you the last traded print, something like this, which gives you a little bit closer view where things are could trade right here, right now. So everybody is hoping that if the consolidated tape is coming in UK and Europe, you will get such data points. The question is it reliable when you get a real-time data point for 100K and you need to move 5 million? So yes, you get a slightly clue where it might come out, and but it really needs to play out, and we really need to see if these data points which are coming to us are only pure noise, as already said, and not helping me to really to get a proper trading strategy, or how we can use it additional to get a bigger picture, and which helps us then to get the right strategy to do a trade.
Ash, how does real time look for you?
Very similar. I mean, it's not the easiest, area to analyze at the moment, especially within fixed income, but within equities and equity futures, we have real time data via our EMS, and via our TCA vendor, we can see real time flow, so we can see where each of the fills are being executed. We can see the running kind of arrival price, over the order. But I think when you're looking at real-time data, you have to link that in with the pre-trade and the post-trade as well. So, an example on our desk is where, we'll have a large order. We'll look at the pre-trade and say, okay, this order is going to cost, predicted to cost this many basis points. If we took a risk price from a broker, how would that compare? So, I think it's, when you're looking at the analytics, it's important to link all the different aspects together, because then you can get a full picture of, whether that was the right, execution, what the improvements are. So at the moment, those are the kind of the few different areas where we can look at the real-time flow. But again, it's not the easiest aspect, of the analytics.
And is the technology or are the processes there to help you kind of stitch together the real-time data with the other data points, or is that somewhere that's still a little bit behind at the moment, kind of holding you back from getting the most out of the real-time data?
Yeah, so luckily with our TCA vendor, we have the ability to look at the pre-trade, real-time, and post-trade within one platform. So it's easy enough on our side. But when you're trying to when you have different vendors for different aspects, and you're looking at different, asset classes, that's when it gets a lot more tricky. But we're always trying to kind of improve that area. So it's always a learning curve.
Let's come on to some of the challenges, some of the hurdles, and as one of my favorite old sayings goes, garbage in, garbage out, and that's been true in IT and technology as it is really in all lines of data analytics. So let's talk about data quality first of all. How confident are you, Sven? I'll bring you in on this one first of all. How confident are you that the data that you have is, well, I guess good enough, which is fluffy enough, but is good enough for critical trading decisions? And what would you say are the biggest struggles that you have in ensuring accuracy, reliability, especially from all of the different data sources that you have?
So in normal markets, data are okay-ish. So what you see there from data, I'm talking about fixed income space, there you can really rely, the bid and ask spread is okay, things are going on, so it works. So you can really rely on a normal day that it works. If it gets squeezy like Donald Trump and tariffs, you cannot trust your screen anymore. And the question is, okay, it's much more the strategy to, I say, if I want to sell something, you need much more to see from data quality where is the lowest offer. Then need to approximate what is the bid and ask spread, and then you can figure out where the bid might be, for example. This is much more a kind of hints and some calculations, and perhaps you need to have some downturn still in there, and it will not come what you're expecting. And this is a little bit annoying, because equity markets is something is trading, it's trading down. You directly see at the exchange there's a new market that comment on its live. So in fixed income and corporates and illiquids, it's not really coming this way. And in this kind, I would love to see much more coming data points, which helps us to approximate where it is, makes life a little bit easier, and which are reliable. This is the tricky thing. In this case, you have a lot of unreliable data in these squeezy days, and I think there needs to be a good average from both sides, to make it proper for us to decide what we want to do. Because if you're seeing on screen already, hey, these are not the price I want to trade, you will not go out, send an RFQ or an inquiry and talking to people only to getting prices you don't want to trade. You will sit there and see what's going on to find the better entry point to sell your bonds or the better entry point to buy your bonds, because screen is reliable. If it's not reliable, you are out there wasting time only to get the result. Data are not right and not working for me right here, right now. I need to wait and see.
Trump and tariffs there. That's not something that we have hidden away from here on the CMXtra podcast. Take a look at our back catalogue. We had a chat on Trump and trading and Trump and tariffs in our last episode with Lee. So head on over to that if you want to find out some more insights on maybe the bigger picture view on that. Back to quality though, Ash. What's your take on quality, on I guess trying to make the best use that you can when you aren't necessarily in control of all of the data that's coming in from multiple sources?
Yeah, so how we look at it on our side is that the vendors obviously have the processes where they sift through the data. If there's any major data issues, that will be relayed to us on the desk, so we can apply those issues, those solutions to those issues on our side, if it's to do with our internal data. But I think if we're focusing on the vendor side as well, I think it's important to have those good client service teams on the vendor side who can work with you to resolve those issues. There's a big range of performance in terms of the different vendors. So some will have a dedicated team that will work with you and ensure that there's that collaborative approach, where others you will talk to a different individual every time you have a data issue. So I think that's very important to consider. But we'll also be checking outliers regularly on our side. Any high cost orders, the first thing that we will check is if the data is correct. And then post that, we can either work with the trading desks or go back to the vendors or internally to resolve those issues. So we try and take a very kind of systematic approach to solving those issues. But I mean, like you said, if there's bad data going in, there'll be bad data coming out. So that's a very important area that that you have to consider.
Consideration is cost, of course, and data isn't free. It used to pay my bills once upon a time. How are you balancing, Sven, the costs of purchasing external data against building up internal capabilities? And I guess what's fair, and how do you put a value on, given that we've just been talking about data quality, how do you put a value on the processing, the kind of cleansing that you might need to put into the data to make sure it's in its most useful format for you?
So every year, beginning of the year, I get an Excel sheet with all my data costs, and I'm always taking a look at it. It's always increasing, and I'm not buying more data. So,
right, okay.
So it's always a question. Take a look. How much data do I really need? So really to get to the proper result, how much packages I have perhaps on, let's say, as you already said, data which are giving me not really any add-on or giving me no alpha generation. So I really need to see what's going on from the data on this side to get the proper data, the right data I need. The other thing is then if I have the right data I need, or if I need perhaps additional data, is it worth to pay the price tag then for it? How much alpha do I generate to buy this new data package? Does it work out, or do I'm paying more money for the data package than I can deliver any alpha? So that's also the crucial question if somebody comes around and wants to sell us more data or new data. So currently, we're happy with the data package we're having. We're trying to leverage our own data package into it because, as we said, we have a lot of data lakes inside which we need to pipe in. This is the first goal. And we are cautious about the rising prices. And we are really in talks with a vendor of data and say, look, is it really price proper? What package do you have? If I'm not taking your data, perhaps I'm taking data from anybody else. So what can we price in to get to a proper result that it fits for everybody, for the vendor and for us? And this is sometimes not easy.
Ash, quickly, what's your take on data, on making sure that you are buying in the right data and ascribing understanding the value of the data that you're using so that you are getting the best value?
Yeah, so I think the fair cost, to calculate the fair cost is pretty challenging. You almost have to have, an asset class that you've bought from a vendor in terms of the data already there internally, so you can compare those costs versus that package. So it's very difficult to kind of work out that fair cost. But I think, for us internally, we've built some analytics internally, but we've also outsourced a lot of our analytics processing as well. So it's trying to work out if the amount of flow is worth kind of paying up for an external vendor, or is there ways that we can process those data points internally and produce those analytics off the back of that. So it's really dependent on what asset class we're focusing on, because the overall decision will depend on that.
Another thing that I want to touch on today, and it's something we mentioned a minute ago, is look, having data, having a big lake into which to pour it is one thing, but how do you let your traders query or fish in that lake, to carry on with that analogy, and make sure that they have access to the data that they need without necessarily needing to train up a whole bunch of data scientists? Ash, what's your take on accessibility and ensuring that the right people have access to the right data at the right time?
So we luckily have a quant data analyst who oversees the creating of the complex code in Python and other languages. So then from that point, he can apply different parameters and say, if you want to change the date range, you can adjust this piece. If you want to change what sector you're looking at, you can change that piece. So for us, it's the code is already there, and then we've learned to adjust it and increased our skill set on the coding side of things. But I think trading is becoming more and more data driven. So I think having that skill set of being able to write simple code, I think, is extremely important, and I think it will gain in importance going forward, especially when you're looking at API and other kind of automation and AI topics. It's important to have that base level of knowledge that you can continuously build on.
Accessibility.
This is our biggest topic, to be honest, because it's not really that accessibility is really missing a little bit on our side. So we are working on it to find proper solutions to get it going. Currently, it's much more report-based, that you can get it and take a look at it and see what's going on. We're trying to enhance these reports on quality. That's the first step. But it would be better, and this is what we are thinking about, and if it's possible, to get these results as via an API or other things feeding directly in the front office system, or at least in a kind of data pool where you can then put by ISIN or other things, the national information in there to get all these data points which we have collected. This is currently not there yet, but we were working on it to get proper reports and proper interface to make it more valuable for us, because currently it's much more a manual process, to be honest.
Got you. Listen, gents, we'll have to leave it there for today. But thank you so much for sharing insights on the value and the different types of challenges that you have in realizing the value from data from the various sources that you get it from. Ash, Sven, thank you very much. If you all liked what you heard today, then a quick reminder that you can catch up on all of our previous episodes over at the-cmx.com, as well as in all the usual places that you find your podcasts. Leave us some feedback too. Algorithms love feedback, so do we. The CMX page on LinkedIn is a great place for that. And well, while you're there, tell us what you'd like us to cover in future episodes. Speaking of the future, Well, following all of the Hive members meetings over the last few months over the world, everybody, FI, FX, equities, you'll all be coming together for CMX 2025, back once again at the Woolwich Works in London on Wednesday, the 2nd of July. If you want to find out more about that or about the Finance Hive in general, then head over to the-cmx.com. But for now, from me, David McClelland, and all of the team, thanks for joining us. See you next time.